Have you ever wondered if your Buddhist practice is actually changing your life? Or are you just going through the motions, hoping for good fortune in return? Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a question that has confused countless practitioners. What does it truly mean to practice Buddhism? Many believe that lighting incense, offering fruits, and chanting mantras are the essence of Buddhist devotion. But let's go deeper. Is that really enough to transform our lives? Is that the path to enlightenment, or just another form of desire disguised in ritual? Let me start with a powerful memory. Few years ago, I visited an ancient monastery tucked deep in the mountains. So I stepped through its red gates and heard the wooden fish echo through the temple halls. A wise old monk approached me slowly. He looked at me and asked gently, "Are you practicing Dharma or just holding on to your attachments?" That one question hit me harder than any lecture or scripture I'd ever read. It was a moment of deep clarity. Realized how many of us come before the Buddha not to let go, but to grasp even tighter. We kneel and chant, not to surrender our desires, but to ask that they be fulfilled. It's as if we're trading devotion for personal gain. And let me be honest, this isn't practice, it's bargaining. True Buddhist practice is transformation. It is the inner alchemy that takes place when we awaken to truth, challenge our patterns, and change from the inside out. It's not about what you get from the Buddha, it's about what you become through the Dharma. The Buddha never promised to grant wishes. He came to show us how to change the roots of our suffering. All phenomena arise from the mind. He taught, your life, your circumstances, your expression are not handed to you by chance. They're the echoes of your own mind, your choices, your karma. You are not what you wish to be. You are what you have chosen, done, and cultivated. Let's take a closer look. Imagine someone who visits the temple regularly, makes lavish offerings, and recites scripture every day. But outside the temple, they're selfish, impatient, and judgmental. Is that person really practicing, or are they just maintaining appearances? Practice begins not with ritual, but with self-awareness. Think about this. Are you reciting sutras because you're afraid of misfortune or because you're truly seeking understanding? Do you chant the Buddha's name to escape suffering or to illuminate your own mind with compassion? Many people misunderstand the purpose of Buddha's prayer. It's not a magical incantation. It's a mirror. Each repetition of the Buddha's name is an opportunity to return to presence, to remember your vow, to align your heart with wisdom and kindness. Real transformation doesn't happen at the altar. It happens in the moment you choose to forgive instead of retaliate. It happens when you resist the urge to blame others and instead turn inward to ask, what can I learn from this pain? Every hardship you face is a message. Every disappointment, a Dharma teaching in disguise. But we rarely read them correctly. Instead of pausing to reflect, we rush to complain. And every complaint, as taught in countless sutras, is a seed of new karma, the step deeper into suffering. Wisdom begins when we stop resisting reality and start understanding it. Now, let's explore a common misconception that Buddhism is about escaping pain. The truth is, Buddhism is about understanding pain so deeply that we are no longer enslaved by it. The Buddha himself didn't avoid suffering, he walked straight into it. He saw sickness, aging, and death, and instead of turning away, he asked, what lies beyond this? Through his journey, marked by charity, discipline, patience, effort, meditation, and insight, he attained enlightenment not by wishing for peace, but by mastering the forces that disturb peace. He did not become awakened by burning incense. He became awakened by burning away delusion. So, why do we continue to reduce the Buddha's profound path to a superstition of incense and fruit? Because it's easier. It's easier to ask the Buddha for help than to change ourselves. It's easier to perform rituals than to observe our mind. It's easier to look holy than to become humble. But Buddhism doesn't reward appearances. It responds to sincerity. And that sincerity begins with a shift from asking, "What can the Buddha do for me?" to "What can I learn from the Buddha's example?" The difference between the two is the difference between stagnation and awakening. To change your destiny, you don't need divine intervention, you need insight. You need to convert desire into discernment, anger into awareness, ignorance into illumination. This is what the ancient texts call the conversion of consciousness into wisdom. It is the turning point of your fate. How do we do this? Begins with honesty. Ask yourself, do I pray out of fear or out of faith? Do I chant out of obligation or out of presence? Do I seek to take from the Buddha or to become like the Buddha? If you're stuck in a life of scarcity, maybe it's because you're stuck in a mind of grasping. Buddhism isn't about getting more. It's about needing less until you discover that everything you truly need was already within you. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It calls you to rise above your circumstances, not hide from them. The Dharma doesn't work like a wish list. It works like a mirror. It shows you who you are and invites you to become who you can be. Let me share a story that illustrates this. There was once a woman named Mylene. From the outside, her life appeared stable, with steady job, a husband, 2 children, but internally he felt empty. Despite years of temple visits and daily chanting, her heart was always heavy, and misfortune seemed to chase her. One day, he confided in a monk, "Why do I keep praying but nothing changes? Light incense every morning, offer food to the Buddha every week, but my life is filled with struggle." The monk listened patiently and then asked, "What do you think the Buddha wants from you?" Mylene paused. "My sincerity," she replied. He nodded. "Then tell me, what does sincerity look like to you?" She was quiet. After a long silence, he said, "Maybe, not expecting anything in return." Exactly. The monk explained that sincerity in practice means letting go of the expectation that our rituals will automatically yield results. Real sincerity is offering ourselves, not just objects, on an altar. It is remembering the Buddha's path and choosing to walk it in our own small, imperfect ways every day. One's formation begins, he said, when you stop asking the Buddha to change your world and start asking him to change your heart. That day, Mylene went home and sat quietly before her altar. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't even light incense. He simply whispered, "Teach me to understand." And that was the start of her awakening. This is the essence of what it means to practice and not perform. Buddhism is not a performance art. It is a practice of depth, of honesty, of facing the uncomfortable truths about our own mind. It teaches us to sit with our pain, to trace it back to its roots, and to see how we participated in our own suffering. The ancient Buddhist text, the Dhammapada, says all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. So if we want to change our lives, we must begin with thought. And thought is not just mental chakras, the undercurrent of intention that drives our speech or actions or habits. Have you ever noticed how your mind reacts in traffic, or when someone criticizes you, or when plans fall apart? That moment of reactivity is your real practice ground. Will you snap back with anger, or pause, breathe, and choose patience? Will you stew in resentment, or reflect on how attachment is creating your pain? These everyday moments are the real temples of Buddhism. They are where practice becomes alive. You don't need a monastery, you need awareness. You don't need incense, you need introspection. You don't need chants, you need change. Let me take you deeper into another story. A quiet rural town, there lived a man named Tenzin. He was born into hardship. His father was a farmer. His mother passed away when he was young, and from a young age he was taught to work hard and expect little. But he was also curious, and when a traveling monk came through the village one winter, young Tenzin asked, "Can you teach me how to be free?" The monk smiled and said, "Freedom begins when you stop blaming the world." That line haunted Tenzin for the years. As he faced betrayal, loss, poverty, and sickness, he kept coming back to those words. You realized how often he pointed fingers at the government, at his father, at his past. He was angry at life for being unfair. But one evening, after losing his job, Tenzin sat beneath a tree and whispered, "Maybe it's not the world that needs to change, maybe it's me." That moment marked the beginning of his true spiritual journey. He didn't retreat from life. He faced it differently, with humility, with curiosity, with faith in the Dharma. And slowly, things did change, not because his problems disappeared, but because his perspective did. He found joy in simplicity, strength in patience, and meaning in service. He began helping others in his village, not with money, but with time and presence. He didn't become a monk. He became a mirror for the teachings. This is the power of inner transformation. This is what the Buddha meant when he taught, "Be a lamp unto yourself." Too often we look outward for answers, for miracles, for validation, but the Dharma points us inward, to the silent observer within us, the one who can witness without judgment, act without ego, and love without condition. This witness is not a religious side, it is a lived reality you can access right now. Close your eyes for a moment, breathe in, heal your body, observe your thoughts, notice how they come and go, like clouds. Behind them, what remains? That stillness, that space, that awareness. This is the doorway to awakening. But to walk through it, you must release the baggage of expectation. You must stop measuring your practice by how spiritual you seem and start measuring it by how present you are. Can you listen to a friend without interrupting? Can you accept a setback without spiraling? Can you forgive someone without needing to be right? These are the real tests, not how many sutras you've memorized, but how deeply you've integrated their wisdom into your being. And this is where we return to the core question: are you practicing Buddhism to get something or to become something? Because the former leads to frustration, the latter leads to freedom. And freedom, as the Buddha taught, is the end of suffering. This freedom is not somewhere far away. It's not locked in a temple or hidden in scripture. It's right here, in how you relate to yourself, in how you breathe through discomfort, in how you choose compassion when anger feels justified. We are not here to worship the Buddha. You are here to walk the path he walked. That path is not paved with ins, and it is carved with courage. Courage to look within. Courage to let go. Courage to be still. Courage to begin again every day. So the next time you stand before your altar, ask not for favors, ask for clarity, ask for patience, ask for the strength to love even when it hurts. Then step away from the altar and live those prayers. Because that's what real practice is. Let's return to the idea of karma. So many people say, I must have bad karma when things go wrong, but they often say this with a tone of resignation, as if karma is a curse. This shows a misunderstanding. Karma is not punishment. Karma is instruction. It is the feedback loop of the universe, offering you clues, opportunities, and reflections to learn from your past actions, thoughts, and intentions. If you plant seeds of anger, you'll harvest loneliness. If you plant seeds of generosity, you'll harvest connection. But you must tend to those seeds and not just plant them. This is why Buddhist practice is not merely a belief system. It is a discipline. It asks us not just to have faith in karma, but to live in accordance with it. That means paying attention. Attention to how you speak. Every word shapes your future. Attention to how you think. Every thought plants a seed. Attention to how you react. Every reaction either builds compassion or strengthens ego. It also means taking responsibility. There's a powerful teaching in the Avadhyamsaka Sutra. If you wish to know the causes of the past, look at your present condition. If you wish to know the results of the future, look at your present actions. This is the heart of karmic wisdom. Your life is not just happening to you, it's happening through you. And when you begin to see this clearly, something beautiful happens. You stop blaming, you stop waiting, you stop grasping. Instead, you begin participating consciously, kindly, courageously. You no longer chant Hamitibas out of desperation, you chant it out of devotion. You no longer bow before the Buddha asking for safety. You bow as an act of surrender, of humility, of remembrance. You no longer light incense to appease the divine, you light it to align with it. This shift, your practice moves from transcational to transformational. And that's when the magic begins. Not magic in the sense of miracles, but magic in the sense of inner alchemy. The moment you stop begging for blessings and start embodying the Dharma, you begin to radiate a different energy, where presence becomes lighter, where choices become wiser, where relationships become more authentic. You are no longer trying to change the world to fit your desires. You are changing yourself to meet the world with equanimity. This is real spiritual maturity. And it's not always glamorous. Sometimes it looks like sitting silently with grief. Sometimes it looks like staying calm when misunderstood. Sometimes it looks like forgiving someone who hasn't apologized. Sometimes it looks like admitting, I was wrong. But every one of these moments is a step on the path. Every one is a small awakening. Let's remember the Buddha never promised a life without problems. He promised a way to meet those problems without suffering unnecessarily. He showed us how to turn pain into presence, us into letting go, us into clarity. And each of us has that same capacity, not because we're special, but because we're human. Being human means being capable of transformation. Let me tell you the story of a man named Anand, not the Buddha's disciple, but a modern-day seeker. Nanda grew up in a family that practiced rituals but rarely spoke of wisdom. He knew the chants, the motions, the calendar of offerings, but he didn't understand the meaning behind them. It all felt hollow. When his father died unexpectedly, Ananda was devastated. The rituals felt even emptier. One day, he came across a verse from the Dhammapada: all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Something clicked. He realized he had been clinging to permanence in a world that promises none. From that moment, he shifted his focus from external practice to internal inquiry. He began meditating daily. He studied not just the texts, but his own reactions, emotions, habits. Slowly, he began to see his anger not as an enemy, but as a teacher, his grief not as a burden, but as a messenger. He started using every encounter as a mirror. When someone triggered him, he asked, "What is this revealing in me?" When something failed, he asked, "What belief am I holding on to that's being challenged?" This was his new form of practice, one that didn't require robes or titles, just presence. And it changed everything. His relationships improved. His work felt more purposeful. Most importantly, his heart became lighter. He still chanted, still bowed, but now, every gesture was infused with meaning. He wasn't performing Buddhism, he was living it. And this is what we are all capable of. Not perfection, not sainthood, but presence. And presence is powerful. Because when you are truly present, your suffering can't take root. Your mind is no longer lost in the past or terrified of the future. You are here, awake. And in that state, everything becomes practice. Washing dishes, listening to your child, standing in traffic, sitting in silence. Then feeling lost becomes part of the journey because you no longer see it as failure, but as another step toward understanding. This is the great paradox of the path. The more you try to escape suffering, the more it clings to you. But the more you embrace it, understand it, and befriend it, the more it softens and dissolves. Suffering is not your enemy. Ignorance is. The antidote to ignorance is not informationist awareness. So when you light incense tomorrow, let it be a reminder and not of superstition, but of sincerity. When you chant, let each syllable be an offer and not to an external dot, but to the inner Buddha waiting to be awakened. When you bow, let it be not out of obligation, but as a gesture of gratitude for the chance to learn, to grow, to transform. Because that's what real Buddhism is. Not a religion of rituals, but a discipline of awakening. Not a promise of blessings, but a path to wisdom. Not a list of rules, but a mirror for the heart. And if you can walk this path with even a little consistency, a little humility, a little courage, then you are already on your way. Because practice is not about how far you've come, it's about whether you're still walking. And if you are, then the Buddha walks with you. Let's reflect on what walking the path really means in everyday life. It doesn't require a change of clothes or a life in isolation. It requires a change of heart. Who walk the Buddhist path is to move through life with eyes open, not just to the beauty of the world, but also to the suffering, the ignorance, the impermanence that underpins all things. It's in how you respond when your plans collapse. It's in how you speak when someone irritates you. It's in how you carry yourself when no one is watching. This is where the real Dharma is practiced, not in temples, but in traffic, not in rituals, but in relationships, not in scriptures, but in self-awareness. Let's dive even deeper into how this looks across different areas of life. In your workplace, do you carry the Dharma with you? Do you use your job as a platform for service, compassion, and mindful speech, or do you compromise your values for status or convenience? Your family, you bringing patience and understanding, or you reacting from old patterns of control, resentment, or expectation? In your mind, do you give yourself space to rest, observe, and process? Or do you drown in distraction, self-judgment, or endless thinking? If you truly walk the path, you will begin to see every encounter as a teacher, every frustration as a mirror, every disappointment as a Dharma gate. There is a well-known teaching in Zen: when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But what we often miss is that this teacher isn't always in robes. Sometimes the teacher is a rude customer. Sometimes it's a heartbreak. Sometimes it's a silent morning where nothing seems to go right. These are your teachers too. And if you have the eyes to see and the heart to stay open, you will begin to realize something extraordinary. There are no ordinary moments. Everything is practice. Everything is sacred. Let me share another story. A woman named Li Hua was struggling with infertility. For years, he prayed, visited temples, lit incense, ate offerings, but month after month, nothing changed. One day, in tears, he asked a nun at her temple, "Why hasn't the Buddha heard my prayers?" The nun gently replied, "He has, but are you listening to what he's saying in return?" Ihua was stunned. The nun continued, "Perhaps this suffering is here not to deny you a child, but to birth in you a deeper kind of mother, holds a compassion that can embrace more than just your own." From that moment, Li Hua's perspective began to shift. He still longed for a child, but he also started volunteering at an orphanage. He cared for children with no families, and in doing so, he discovered that her love could transcend biology. Years later, he adopted one of those children. And she would often say, "The Buddha gave me a child, just not in the way I expected. He gave me the child that needed me most, and in doing so, made me the mother I needed to become." This is the Dharma at work, not granting wishes, but guiding transformation. When we release our grip on how life should be, we begin to see how life actually is, and in that seeing, a new kind of peace arises. That's not the peace of perfection, but the peace of understanding. This is the heart of wisdom. Wisdom doesn't mean knowing everything. It means seeing clearly, choosing kindly, and acting with awareness even when life is difficult. It means remembering that growth is not linear. Some days you'll feel deeply connected, other days you'll feel lost. Some days your meditation will be clear and spacious, other days it will feel like you're just sitting in a fog. Some days you'll respond with patience, other days you'll snap and regret it. This is all part of the journey. The goal is not perfection, it's persistence. to keep coming back, to keep choosing awareness over and over again. Because every time you return to the path, you strengthen your alignment with it. It's like returning to your breath. You don't judge yourself for having wandered, you simply notice and come back. That's practice. And over time, that simple act of coming back begins to reshape your entire life. You become more resilient, more compassionate, more open. You begin to realize that pain doesn't have to harden you, that loss doesn't have to break you, that failure doesn't have to define you. Instead, these become the stones beneath your feet, forming a path that leads not away from suffering, but through it and beyond it. The Buddha walked this path before you, not to worship, but to show you it can be walked. And now, it's your turn. So how do you start? You start by pausing, by listening, by asking yourself in every moment, and what would wisdom do now? Not what would my fear do? Not what would my ego do? Not what would my habits do? But what would wisdom do? Would it rush or breathe? Would it judge or observe? Would it control or release? These questions are your compass. And the more you ask them, the more you'll find that the answers don't just come from your mind, they begin to rise from your heart. That is the flowering of insight. That is the blossoming of Dharma. And it's not something you chase. It's something you allow. Like a lotus blooming in still water, your awakening unfolds most beautifully when you stop struggling and start trusting. Trust the process. Trust your practice. Trust the wisdom that lives within you even if you haven't met it fully yet. Because the truth is, you are not becoming awake. You already are. We're just remembering. And every time you choose compassion over anger, presence over distraction, faith over faith, you remember a little more. You return to your true self. You return to the path. You return to the Buddha not as a deity, but as a reflection of your own potential. And in that returning, you become a light for others. Not by preaching, but by embodying. By living with such depth, such clarity, such openness, that others feel safer, softer, stronger just by being near you. That is the real offering. That is real practice. And it begins right now, wherever you are. Just breathe. Begin again. Let's now explore one of the most powerful shifts that happens when we move from ritualistic Buddhism to awakened in the transformation of identity. Most people live their lives tethered to a false sense of self, the construct made of memories, wounds, titles, appearances, and social roles. This identity feels solid, familiar, and protective, but it's also the root of much suffering. We say, I am anxious, I am a failure, I am this kind of person. But Buddhism invites us to ask, who is this I you're referring to? Is it the body that changes? Is it the thoughts that flicker? Is it the emotions that rise and fall? None of these are permanent, independent, or unchanging, yet we cling to them as meat and mine. This is where the concept of anatta, or no self, becomes liberating. Realize that it is not to say I don't exist. It is to see that the self you've believed in is not a fixed entity. It is a process, a pattern, a collection of causes and conditions that constantly evolve. And in seeing this clearly, you stop clinging so tightly to the story of me. You become less reactive because you no longer feel everything is about you. You become more compassionate because you see others not as enemies or competitors, but as fellow processes, equal life fluid, equally sacred. This shift is not theoretical, visceral. It happens when you're meditating and suddenly realize that your anger is just a passing storm, not a core identity. It happens when you lose your job and instead of spiraling, you notice, this hurts, but it's not who I am. It happens when someone criticizes you and you, rather than defending, you ask, is there truth in this? This is what the Buddha meant when he spoke of liberation. Not the end of all emotions, but the end of being enslaved by them. Not the end of all pain, but the end of identifying with it. When you no longer take your suffering personally, you create space, and in that space, something beautiful emerges. Is your true nature. Not your name, your history, or your personality, but your pure awareness, or luminous mind, or original face, before all labels. This awareness is not new, it's just been buried under layers of conditioning. And practice is the process of uncovering it, peeling back the layers, watching them fall, and standing again and again in the simplicity of being. This is where the real power of Buddhism lies, not in doctrine, but in direct experience. You can study for years and still miss it. Or you can take one mindful breath and touch it. So breathe now. And know this breath is not yours. It is a gift. You did not create it. You cannot own it. You cannot hold on to it. You can only receive it, experience it, and release it. Just like life. This understanding begins to shift how you engage with the world. You become less obsessed with control, or attuned to impermanence, or grateful for the moment, or curious about the unknown, and less afraid of endings because you've seen that every ending is also a beginning. Even death, in this view, is not a tragedy, but a transition. Not a failure, but a return. Return to the vastness that gave rise to this temporary form. Return to the great ocean of awareness that we all come from and to which we all return. This is why the Buddha smiled beneath the Bodhi tree. Not because life had no more pain, but because he was no longer trapped in it. He had seen through the illusion. And now, so can you. But you must be willing to look, to turn inward, to sit still long enough to hear what your distractions have been drowning out, to feel the ache beneath your habits, to face the truth beneath your defenses, and to trust deeply that there is something within you that is bigger than all of it. Not a God, not an identity, not a concept, but a presence. Silent, impeccable, where? That is the Buddha within. The more you connect to it, the more you will find your actions change. Not out of willpower, but out of alignment. They'll speak with more care. They'll consume with more intention. They'll rest with more peace. You'll love with more freedom. because you're no longer acting from fear, you're acting from presence. This presence is what heals. Not because it fixes everything, but because it allows you to meet everything with wholeness. You become like the sky, vast, spacious, untouched by the weather passing through. Hinder may come, what it passes. Fear may visit, what it fades. Shy may rise, and you savor it without clinging. This is the freedom the Buddha spoke of, and it is available to you now. Not after years of study, not after attaining some spiritual level, but right here, this moment, this breath. If you can simply be with what is. Oh judgment, what gender, lust being, lust breathing, lust this. That is awakening. That is the heart of the path. Let's turn now to the ultimate question. If all of this is true, if awareness is the key, if presence is the practice, if transformation is possible, then why don't more people awaken? Why do so many remain stuck in patterns, lost in desire, consumed by fear? The answer is simple: we are afraid to let go. We are addicted to the known, even when it causes suffering. You would rather stay in familiar misery than risk unfamiliar freedom. This is why the Buddha spoke of clinging as the root of all suffering. You cling to identity, to control, to pleasure, to stories, to grievances, to hope, to fear. And in clinging, we suffer, and not because life is cruel, but because we resist what is. Imagine holding a rope that's burning your hands. The tighter you grip, the more it hurts, but you don't let go because you're afraid of what will happen if you do. That's what clinging looks like. The practice is not about becoming stronger so you can hold on long, for it's about becoming wise enough to realize. This brings us to a key concept in Buddhist psychology: dependence, grasping or attachment. Every time we grasp at something, then become a belief, a status, we create the conditions for suffering. Because the moment reality diverges from what we've clung to, we feel pain. But if we can learn to let go, to engage life fully, without grasping, it changes everything. You still love, but without trying to possess. You still strive, but without anxiety. You still care, but without attachment to results. This is not detachment in the cold sense. It's not indifference. It's engagement without entanglement. It's love with open hands. This kind of love is liberating, and not just for you, but for those around you. Think about it. How often have you tried to control someone for their own good? How often have you imposed your expectations in the name of love? A true love, like true practice, doesn't imprison, it frees. It allows others to be as they are, while you stay rooted in your own clarity. This kind of love is fierce, but soft. It is brave, but humble. Does not demand it gives. Does not shrink from pain, it grows through it. This is the love of the awakened heart. And it is cultivated not through rituals, but through presence. Through choosing to stay, to feel, to see clearly, to respond, not react, to listen, not lecture, to serve, not seek status. This is what the Bodhisattva path is all about. not escaping the world, but entering it with an open heart. Not transcending pain, but transforming it into wisdom. Not waiting for heaven, but bringing compassion into this very earth. And it begins right where you are. You don't need a different life. You need a different relationship with life. You don't need more answers. You need deeper questions and the courage to sit with them. Let them undo you. Let them soften you. Until what remains is not certainty, but sincerity. Not dogma, but devotion. Not control, but connection. This is the heart of true spiritual maturity. And from this place, something profound arises: equanimity. Equanimity is not apathy. It is the deep, unwavering peace that comes from understanding impermanence. From trusting that life flows, that everything changes, and that you don't need to interfere with every wave. You simply meet each one as it comes, with presence, with compassion, with wisdom. This is the stillness within the storm, the calm of the hurricane, the mountain unmoved by the weather. It's not something you achieve once and keep forever. It's something you return to again and again, with every breath, with every challenge, with every sacred, ordinary moment. And it grows stronger the more you practice, until one day you look back and realize you are no longer waiting for life to begin. You are no longer chasing happiness. You are no longer afraid of your own emotions. You are simply here. Lily, realize, wake. This is not the end of the path. This is the path. And it's available to you in every moment. The next time you feel overwhelmed, pause. The next time you feel anger rise, breathe. The next time you catch yourself judging, smile. These are not small acts. They were radical revolutions of the heart. And they ripple outward. Your presence changes the energy of a room. Your kindness softens someone's day. Your awareness plants seeds you may never see but they blossom all the same. This is the quiet power of real practice. Doesn't shout, doesn't boast, simply lives. Imply, steadily, sincerely. And in doing so, it lights the way for others. So walk gently, speak kindly, listen deeply, love fully, and above all practice, not perfectly, not rigidly, but honestly. Because the world doesn't need more followers of Buddhism. Needs more living Buddhas. People who embody wisdom in action, compassion in movement, peace in presence. That is your invitation. That is your path. That is your power. And it begins now. Just breathe and begin again.